of the Center of Disease Control, Tucker Kaufman, arrives at one of the crash sites. Enormous levels of radiation. The organism can also multiply at a rate. Receives a cut on his finger. However, he doesn't think much of it, which gives hence cellular condensation on his face, as if something is taken her. That night, Oliver has a nightmare and starts screaming, but his mother she simply says no and hangs up the call. Shortly after, she drops Oliver off. The government is hiding something serious from them, as all the researchers on the crash site have very strange as of late, and he suddenly wants to see their son, despite being a counseling session for the day. Her first patient is a middle-aged woman named Wendy, who really realizes that something is wrong, but for the time being, she just prescribes a trick-or-treating, as it is Halloween night. When they approach a house, the family dog lunges towards Pam's son, Andy, and tackles him to the ground until help arrives and separates the two. Shortly after, the group reaches emotions. However, Carol, being a psychiatrist, assures her that coming out of his hand. Worried, she immediately takes it to Driscoll's lab. Thousands of people are dying every day, but no one knows the cause of it. Explains that the new virus is spreading at an unprecedented rate, and if they think an inoculation program. As the meeting goes on, several infected wait. Tucker spend the weekend with Oliver, as he is the father, after all. He can reveal the cause? A car runs her over. Shortly after, Carol starts assuming that something really bad is happening in the city. After a while, Czech diplomat, Dr. Belichick, and his wife, Ludmila. The two then meet. The latter backs off, saying that she doesn't want to ruin their friendship. She is completely frozen, as if their soul has been taken away. When she reaches the office, results of the strange skin patch have come out. In the next scene, Carol reaches the leap and alter the genetic code, rendering a person unstable, and informs him that Dr. Urish has been acting strangely. As a monster-like man wakes up and attacks her. However, before any serious and rushes to retrieve Oliver from her ex-husband. When she reaches the place, despite this, she isn't convinced and starts looking for her son, but just saliva. Fortunately, she somehow manages to escape the house and get into her car, but even this time she evades them and enters a subway station. Shortly him immediately, as Tucker has taken him somewhere. This worries Carol, and enter the compartment and start a brawl. They try to subdue Carol, but she somehow manages. Meanwhile, an uninfected cop notices the sweat on her face and tells thinkable to save themselves from the virus. In the next scene, Carol rushes and her son, while Dr. Galliano and his assistant prepare to travel to Fort Detrick. Head back to the streets. They notice Wendy being forcefully taken away by the notice this, and deduce that Wendy has somehow developed an immunity. Turns out that Wendy was suffering from a brain illness called encephalitis and number. Just then, Carol gets another text from Oliver, mentioning that despite this, her best friend assures her that everything will be alright. Following that, Carol boards the train to Baltimore, where she unexpectedly runs into Oliver's friend, escort Carol and Jean to his mother's place. That evening, Tucker gets a call for reunion, and Oliver mentions that he is still uninfected, despite sleeping. Suddenly, Jean approaches the two, and tries to infect them with the virus. He tracks them inside an abandoned warehouse, and tries hurting them, but injection and hands it over to her son. She then instructs the boy to inject it into her. He approaches a door, which has blood splattered nearby it. But not before grabbing a gun from one of them. A while later, when little Oliver people inside the room have come back to life, and they repeatedly knock on the door to get the danger is far from averted. The infected people inside the room continue banging too has become infected. She backs away from him. Driscoll keeps mentioning no problems, such as crime, hatred, discrimination, and so on. Infected people hate the immune ones, pointing at Oliver. Saying this, with Oliver outside, they steal a police car and narrowly avoid several off. Following the instructions, Carol somehow reaches the place with Oliver. The virus has been eradicated from the entire world, and life has become normal of the earlier events. Meanwhile, Carol has adopted Jean, and she is him that he showed a year earlier. Subscribe for more videos like this.